Hello, welcome to the Empower Series podcast. Today, I am so excited because we're going to talk about real estate. Real estate is so important when it comes to building wealth and also generational wealth. But before we get into the topic today, you are on either YouTube or Facebook, and you know what I'm going to tell you. You got to share this with somebody else because somebody in your circle will be blessed by hearing about our topic today of real estate. So go ahead and like, share, comment, and get this to somebody else in your circle right now. Go ahead and take the time to do that. While you're doing that, you know the Empower Series is at www.empowerseries.com. We're doing a workshop in Dallas on the third Saturday of every month. This next Saturday is going to be the topic of real estate as well. And so our guest is here to speak. Our guest is Keyra Ford. She is a Keller Williams real estate agent, but there's much more to her. She's also a Dallasite, a Dallas native, right?
Yes,
Dallas native. But she went to LSU, right?
I did. And Booker T.
And okay, Booker T. Okay, cool.
Washington.
And then also she got a real estate license in 2016, and she has helped over 150 people really make confident decisions when it comes to purchasing real estate, getting a lease, or investing in real estate. So she has a wealth of knowledge to share with us. Her passion right now is just to make sure that we are making sound decisions to create wealth. Her family has created wealth through leveraging real estate, and she has also been a Dallas cheerleader, Dallas Cowboys cheerleader.
Yes.
So what she wants to be with us today, and really in her career, is she wants to be a real estate cheerleader for you.
Yes.
So Keyra, thank you so much for being on the Empower Series.
Of course. I know it sounds cheesy too, but that's my brand. You're a real estate cheerleader because that's exactly what I represent.
Yeah, I love it. Hey, so first off, I want to thank you for not only being the speaker for this coming Saturday, but also being a supporter of the Empower Series. You've come as an attendee multiple times.
Yes.
Right? So thank you for coming. And I want to ask you, what have you gotten out of the Empower Series?
Well, first off, thank you for doing this because I've been coming since 2019. And that's like, I was kind of fresh out of college, trying to find my way, like, Lord, guide me. How can I build wealth? But I'm still trying to figure it all out. And I will say the number one series that I loved was the estate planning one that we did. I think it was last year. And I still come to all the, to as many as I can come to. And I love that one because my parents and my grandparents, I'm at that age where I feel like, you start to take care of your parents and your grandparents. And so that estate planning class was so eye-opening. I told them about like the transfer deeds and all the things because we as a group of people kind of lack on what we're going to do when we pass away. Mm-hmm. And it's just a topic that we just ignore. So I don't know. I just want to say thank you for always bringing like valuable knowledge for us to actually implement. So.
Well, I'm glad you found benefit out of that.
Absolutely.
And here's the intent. The intent is, as a financial advisor, I've had a number of people come meet with me, people who had, a lot of money and people who were just starting.
Yeah.
And no matter where they were, I gave them the time and I educated them. But what I found is that the financial services industry they're not really paying me to work with people who are broke. Right?
Well, of course, I would, yeah.
Or people who are not saving, or people who have a lot of debt. And so I found that there was a lot of times the advice I gave people would help them build a foundation that would benefit them in the future and work with a financial advisor in the future. And so I thought, let me go out in the community and start having the same conversations in the community that I'm having with my wealthy clients. So whether that's about vision and goal setting in the very beginning, entrepreneurship, credit management, preparing to buy a home, life insurance, estate planning. And so we've been doing that since 2011.
Wow. Okay. So tell me how you got connected with SCORE, because that's how we got connected. I went through the program of SCORE because it's free mentorship. Right. And then Linda is the one who connects. She was like, you need to go to these series. They'll give you all the things. And then I got hooked up with you. So how was the SCORE and Empowered series connected?
So here's the other premise. My belief is that we as a community have all of the resources around us to help us take that next step to achieve our goal, but we just don't know about them.
Correct.
So the Small Business Administration has resource partners. SCORE is one of them.
Okay.
Also the Small Business Development Center, the Women's Development Center, and then also VBOC, which is Veterans Business. I should look it up. A Veterans Business Opportunity Center.
Okay.
Right? for veterans. And so those are 4 resource partners that are all throughout the United States. And so many people during our February workshop, we talk about your business idea and the resource that can help you either with a mentor, free mentor, which is what SCORE does, or very low cost workshops or free workshops.
Free work. I mean, I had 12 mentors.
Yeah.
When people say take advantage, I was like, oh, perfect. I'll have a mentor for this. I'll have a mentor for that. Yeah.
So you know, if you don't have a circle of people who are experienced in business, you can find mentors who they're free.
Correct.
They will dedicate their time to help you make the right decisions, learn from their experience. So SCORE, I think, is a very underutilized resource.
I think so too.
And there's so many of them. There's like we'll talk about in real estate, a lot of the nonprofit organizations that are providing free first-time homebuyer courses that some of them are free, very low cost, and they would allow you to get a discount when it comes to, or reduce your down payment to get into a first-time home. So we'll talk more about that. But I got connected with SCORE just because of Linda Gray. She was a speaker, I think, in 2017, and she blew up after that because many people didn't know about it. We were doing workshops at the Highland Hills Library, and from there, again, it was in a community that didn't know about the resource, just like you didn't know, or you didn't know about the Empower series. Now we're making great things happen.
Absolutely.
And now you're
proud of you too. Keep it up. Keep up the good work.
you're helping people make confident decisions around real estate.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about that.
Yes.
And especially right now, when you look at the high interest rates, you look at prices going up, the supply and demand issues. There's a lot going on right now. And I read an article by someone who said maybe purchasing in real estate right now, if you're under 30, is not the right thing to do. Now, I didn't really agree with that, but here was his logic, and then you can talk about it.
I'm like, please tell me his logic.
Yeah. So the thought is, like, real estate is very high. Like the average price of a home, depending on where you are, could be anywhere between $400 or more, $400,000 to $600,000. When you look at your mortgage and everything that you're paying into that, you've got, maybe you're paying $50,000 when you look at your principal and interest, your insurance, and everything, property taxes, etc. And he says, well, it's better for you if you're under 30 to live cheaply.
Under your means, yes.
So rent someplace under $2,000 a month and take that money and invest it in other things. So I would say it's never an either or. You should definitely do both. Right? I believe, and this is my bias, is that real estate is one of the number one tools for you to help build wealth.
Correct.
So what are your thoughts about that?
So my thoughts on that with that article, I haven't read it, so I don't know all the context behind it. But what I usually tell people when it comes to either purchasing a house or renting, I always say live below your means. And you are correct. The median price, especially in Dallas, is about $340 and up, and that's just only in certain areas. And so I do think it's a little bit more challenging for people who are under 30, who don't have that much savings, and if they don't have like a gift from a family member, it could be very hard to get into it and maintain it, because I don't want you just to get real estate. I want you to actually keep it.
Right.
So yes, I always say if you don't have at least 6 months of your expenses, don't even really go consider buying, because I don't know, I feel like you can easily get into like a whole black hole of trying to catch up, and you'd rather be ahead of the curve than behind it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's what we're going to talk about.
Okay.
So number one, the big debate: should I buy or should I rent? We're going to talk about what are the considerations there. We're going to talk about some of the challenges. So the challenges right now is high interest rates, prices are going up, the supply and demand issues. How do we overcome those if the decision is to buy? How do we prepare to buy mentally as well as financially? And then the home buying process, and what are the resources out there?
There's lots of resources, all the things.
Exactly. So in the very beginning, we talked about this whole debate about renting versus buying. And in some cases, what I'm hearing is that in some cases, based on where you are financially, it might make better sense for you to rent.
Correct.
And prepare to buy, right?
So if you don't have a solid job, like you've been in this career for at least 4 or 5 years where you have some foundation, I will say it's probably better for you to rent unless you have a gift. And when I say a gift, it's like a lot of first-time home buyers, surprisingly, their parents are stepping in and giving them a significant amount of a gift so they can actually purchase, so they can start building that wealth, which is the equity in the home. But if you don't have that, absolutely, renting is going to be more ideal for you, but you have to live below your means. And I mean, I'm a millennial, so I understand, but we love experiences. We don't care about, well, I won't say we, a lot of millennials do not care about the future because they're like, hey, I might not even be here.
Yeah, we turn it up right now, right?
Correct. We're trying to live a great life now versus I don't know what the future will hold. So they will spend most of their money on experiences, trips, and they don't think that the investment of a home is ideal because it's sacrificing now.
Yeah.
But it's so good for long term. So that's my I guess idea around renting. If you don't have a stable foundation, been in your job for at least 2 to 4 years, rent, and you don't have a gift. But if you have parents who can give you a gift, you have some savings, you have a good mindset about it, because it is a long-term like goal. Like, you're gonna buy now, but you won't reap the benefit until later. And so you have to think of that. And if you don't, it is going to be a little bit more challenging for you to feel like, is this the right decision for me?
Yeah, and so you talk about needs and wants as well. I was
Correct.
hearing that in there. So let's talk about if you're going to rent, because for whatever reason you don't have enough saved up yet. You're doing your job, so you really need to budget and focus on saving money. And the first decision is, if I'm going to move out my parents' house, the rent today is like outrageously expensive. You want to live in a very nice place.
Correct.
So then part of it is making the delayed gratification and saying, okay, well, I'm not going to pay more than, I think the average is anywhere between $1,500 to $2,000.
Correct. I was gonna say it's about $1,650.
Yeah.
It's like the average.
So now it's like, okay, if you look at something that's close to $1,000, then the neighborhood might be a little bit different.
Correct. The neighborhood might be a little different.
Right. But it's about making sacrifices, because you can save now $500 a month.
Or have a roommate.
Exactly. Which is what people are doing now. So that's number one. So making the sacrifices in the very beginning to prepare yourself financially to be able to have a down payment, to be able to have money set aside for emergencies if things come up, because you'll be responsible for fixing certain things in your house, whereas when you rent, you don't have that expense. But then the other thing too is when you start looking at homes and you look at the price of homes, when we say median price, it's not the average. The median price means that
it's right in the middle.
Half of the homes that are sold above that price.
Correct.
And half the homes are sold below that price.
Exactly.
So what that means is that if $300,000 seems like too much for you, that means you need to look at some homes that are under $300,000, right?
Correct. But then it's going to be a little bit more challenging to find it. So then you also have to make sure your needs and wants are in place.
Right.
Because I always tell my clients, I do a consultation with you, and then I'll say, okay, so give me the top 3 wants. I usually say that because, everyone has the wants.
Yeah.
And then I say, what do you actually need? Because no house is going to be perfect.
Right.
Just like no mate or anything. I always say you're going to get 80% of what you want. Then you can add that extra 20 to make it that 100%.
And then I want to talk about another thing. So Rich Dad Poor Dad. So Rich Dad Poor Dad made a comment that assets are revenue producing assets. And even though buying a house would increase your equity and the equity portion, which is not income,
correct,
he would classify a home as not being an asset. But now here's the thing. Here's what I would say. I can see both sides of that. What I would say then is that if you're in a situation where you can't afford a $300,000 home, you want to get into this real estate space, there's nothing wrong with you going out and buying a very inexpensive home that may be a fixer-upper, or maybe in a neighborhood that you wouldn't want to live in, and have that be your investment property. And fix that up, rent it out, create cash flow from it, and have that be the funding source of your
for the next,
exactly,
which could be more ideal of where you want to be and price point.
Exactly.
So,
but if you're doing that, you can't be living again at a $2,500 apartment. You got to be living really low.
You do, so you can save. So for instance, like I bought my condo, and I was like, this isn't my forever home. Bought it for $200,000. Literally within 2-3 years, it's already worth $95,000 more than what I paid for it. I have $95,000 of equity.
Yeah.
Who gets almost a $30,000 like raise every year? I feel like most people get $1.
Exactly.
So I just think that you really do have to be long-term thinking when it comes to building wealth in real estate, because like you said, it isn't technically an asset yet
Right.
until you're able to, because I plan to only live in it for like 3-4 years. Plan on buying another property next year.
Okay.
But you have to have that plan. You have to have that mindset. You have to have all the strategies to be able to know that, hey, this isn't forever. And that's what I tell my clients. Invest in what you can afford now. And then it will help you be able to get to what you want later.
Okay, so before we talk about how do you prepare mentally and how do you prepare financially to get into a home in the home buying process, I want to talk about the real challenges. So we talked about rising home prices,
Correct.
rising interest rates and inflation,
So
and then the competitive market.
we didn't really touch much on inflation. I mean, not inflation, on interest rates.
Okay.
So interest rates right now are actually at an average. Like if you go back like over 20 years, 6 to 7% interest is actually normal. But it's people who, I mean, and us, I mean, I get it, because my condo, I got a 3.8 interest rate. But if you weren't ready to buy then, you couldn't take advantage of that.
Right.
And so I don't think that the interest rates are awful. I just think that we're just hoping and wishing to be back where they were. But I don't see the economy going back to that unless something is extremely wrong.
So, and the way I look at it too is that nobody knows the future.
Correct.
So we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know if interest is going to go up, go down. We can project, but someone else's crystal ball is not as good as,
Correct.
And so the way I look at it is like the stock market. Stock market investing is a long-term investment. People do not want to invest when the stock market is high.
Correct.
But historically, the stock market has always gone up, just like real estate has always gone up, even though it fluctuates. So my comment is, when is it a good time to invest in the stock market? If you have a long-term horizon, it's now, regardless of what it is,
I always
right?
tell people, yesterday and the best time is, the best time to buy was yesterday, the next best time is today.
Today, right
You
now.
get it?
Like, wait, now o'clock, what time is it, right?
Exactly.
So I look at it to where interest rates are, you should still buy. Now, your strategy for buying might be a little bit different.
Correct.
You may get less of a home with interest rates being high because you can't afford the monthly payment, or you have to save more and put more of a down payment down. So how have you worked with your clients who are buying homes today during the rising interest rates? How do you help them with strategies as to how to navigate during this economic time?
So it really depends on like what their goal is. So first off, down payment assistance is out there, and Brad, who will be here on Saturday with me, he'll talk about how much money is out here that these cities are offering.
gosh,
I mean, it is insane. So for people who say they don't have enough savings, okay, well, I can help you get past that obstacle, because there's money out here that they're willing to give you.
Right.
And then the next strategy I'm giving people too is, it is a seller's market in certain areas, but there's not that many qualified buyers. So on average, a lot of sellers are giving concessions.
They are, yeah.
So that's the beautiful part about it. So it's like you get the down payment assistance, and then you also, now you shouldn't bank on the sellers giving you the concession, but on average, sellers are giving anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 in concessions right now.
Now, after this program, I want to put a lot of links underneath the video
Okay.
to those resources that you just mentioned.
Awesome.
But,
Okay.
but absolutely, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So the way I look at it is, we did a program on scholarships.
Okay.
There are scholarships out there,
So many.
but look, they're not just going to come knocking on your door. You got to do some work. So you've got to work
If it lays
and
in
look
your
for these
lap,
programs.
that's too easy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's cities, there's counties, there's state, there's national ones, but you've got to do some work, and you got to qualify for them.
You do have to
And
qualify.
so don't be discouraged if you don't qualify, but just keep looking.
Correct.
Keep looking.
Keep looking.
Exactly.
Because that one, if that one didn't accept you, you can always go to another one.
So let's talk a little bit about the mindset for buying a home. The way people think dictates every decision. And
Yes.
so how do you help when your clients come to you, they're already made a decision that they want to buy. But if just for our public out there who may not be thinking about buying, how do you help them identify preparing mentally for the purchase of a home?
Okay, so I like this. So like back in 2020, I think 2020, I feel like God told me I'm like supposed to help people with confidence. And so this is like my favorite part about the process is that, they're ready to take the step, but then they start to get nervous. And so the mental part behind it is, one, you have to make a decision. Like if you actually want to do it, we got to write it down and we got to create the strategy, because everyone's strategy is very different. But not only that, once you're educated, you have more confidence to move forward. So what I try to do is I really try to make sure that they know the full process. So there isn't like the, oh my gosh, I don't know what's next. And that is what helps people's mindset shift to say, I can do this.
Yeah, exactly.
I had one client, he told me, he was like, I'm closing next week, but it really feels like I'm not buying a house. I was like, I know. And that's how it's supposed to be, because you were fully educated on the process. You knew all the things that were going to happen, and it all just like went smooth. So it's one, making a decision, and then two, it's really being educated. And like you said, people got to take the extra step too. Like I call it the tool set, the skill set, and the mindset. The tool set is you got YouTube and Google. You can find out anything you want to know. The skill set is you find a realtor who is advocating for you, wants you to actually hit your goal, you know? And then that will help you with your mindset of taking that step forward.
Now, also, if someone might be meeting with you and they're not ready to buy a home in the next 6 months because they're not ready mentally or financially. Correct. So I think you worked with somebody for over 5 years before, right?
Over 5 years. So she closes at the end of this month. I have been following up with her. We did I send my clients homework, because I tell people, yes, I can educate you, but you have to also do your part. Yeah. So I send her like all kinds of things throughout these years, and finally she is ready to take the step to actually become a homeowner. So it was a journey, and that's another thing too. A lot of people they're a little further out than they used to be. And a lot of people aren't like ready to just turn and burn. Right. A lot of people are like, I'm 6 months out, Keyra. I'm a year out. Go to these free events like the Empowered series. I actually do like a future homeowner brunch twice a year. So it's like in the nonprofit, there's so many things that you can go to get fully educated, to get confident, to be able to make the step of actually pursuing homeownership.
Yeah, and I'll tell you right now, two things. Number one, building relationships with financial professionals before you really need them is critically important.
Oh, so good. Yeah, I know.
Right? Because you get a chance to build trust. And if someone's only going to work with you if you're going to pay them, time is precious, but you may not, you want to get the feel and make sure that this person is really helping you and looking out for your best interests and not just their paycheck, their paybook. So if you're working with somebody who's willing to educate you and build that relationship over time and not look at you like a pork chop, right? If they're hungry.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Then I think that's a great opportunity. I like some pork chops, but it's a great opportunity for you to build the relationship over time and know that now when you have the money and you're ready to make the decision, you have a real estate agent that you trust.
Yes.
And not somebody that you're trying to refer and you just try and get to know, right?
And I love that, because honestly, the business that I'm in is creating relationships.
Yeah.
I'm in a business where I meet people and I love on them, and I love on them well. And it's like in return, they want us to meet people to help them buy homes. So yes, it is like I do need to have the knowledge and all the things, because I'm also in the process of getting my broker's license. So I've been doing this for a while now. So it's like, okay, let's take the next step. But this business, and your business too, it's all about relationships.
It is very much so.
We're always one conversation away from a completely different life.
Oh my gosh, don't get me started on relationships.
Yeah,
that's a whole nother topic.
That is a whole nother topic. We'll have to talk about that later.
So the other thing is this. So there's been some things for low to moderate income individuals, some barriers, as well as African Americans and people of color.
Minorities, yep.
That have like redlining or, unfair lending practices.
Yes.
And I think today, when you look at the fact that around 42% of African Americans and Latinos own a home, but compared to 72% of white or Caucasian own a home. And so when you look at that stat in and of itself, there's a big gap, not only in income, but in home ownership and in other areas that we really need to close.
That is so true. Let me tell you, first off, you put Hispanics and African Americans in one, because if you took out the Hispanics, because Hispanics are the #1 growing home ownership people, like they are buying homes. African Americans are still very minimum, like that 42%, you can cut it a little bit more when it's just African Americans. So I will say it's really about getting the information now so you feel comfortable and confident. Like I feel like I'm going to keep saying that, because the more I always say, what is it that people don't do things because they're scared. They do it because they're undereducated. Yeah. And that's really what it is. You just need the education to know what's the next step.
All right, so let's talk about that. So let's talk about the next step. So mentally, you're ready to do it.
Okay.
So financially, that's kind of like in my ballpark. I want you to address these things.
Okay.
So your credit score, saving, gotta save, accessing government programs for down payment assistance, and then back to you is getting a professional so that you know what's out there. So credit score, savings, down payment assistance, and then working with a professional so that you understand the market.
Yes.
Address those for me.
So for credit, I would say you want to make credit's like exercising. You got to use the credit card, but you also got to pay it off. You know, you got to work out, but then you got to also eat, and it might not be that great. So then you got to work out harder. So you want to get your credit score anywhere from a 620 and up. And that is really big on discipline. The more disciplined you are with your credit, the more opportunities you'll have. Because the second thing on the list was like,
for down payment
assistance. Yes. Yeah. So for you to be able to qualify for these grants, the free money that they want to give you out here, you have to have at least a 620 or 640, depending on what program you're going with. And so I find out that there's so many people who have credit issues, so they can't even think about the down payment assistance. And that's why it starts to feel overwhelming. And so I would always advise people to live below your means, pay your things on time. And I mean, it's just discipline. I mean, I feel like that's one of those things that's common sense, but not everyone does it's not common practice.
Right. Okay, so I would say maybe you're on a 2. If you have a low credit score and you're not really saving enough, you have to.
Oh, savings was another one that you said too.
You're not having enough. You don't have enough money left over at the end of the month to put some aside and not touch it, right? You put some aside, and that money's calling you. So with that being said, it may take you a year or two to practice some sound money management behaviors.
Correct.
So that your credit score will improve over time and you'll have cash in the bank that's not calling your name, right?
Yes, it's habit stacking. You got to do one thing at a time. So like maybe your first habit is like you start just saving 10% of what you get every month. After you've done that for, 5 months, you're used to the 10% going out. You don't even
You're not even seeing it.
You don't even miss it. Yeah. And then the next part on top of that is like, okay, now that we got this 10%, can we make it go up a little bit more? Can we do 10% in my account and 10% in my husband's account? Right. And so I think that a lot of people don't want to change habits.
Oh my gosh, look, and it's not sexy, right? Budgeting and saving is not sexy.
It's not sexy.
But I'll tell you right now, the people I know who are very wealthy, they didn't wake up wealthy. No. They started by making sacrifices, and they lived in a very small home, beneath their means. So saving, building up your credit, are the things that, there's a lot of free workshops. The Empower series talks about that.
Yes.
But there's a lot of free resources out there, Money Management International, nonprofit organizations that will help you practice sound money management behaviors, meet with a certified credit counseling person without charging you, that will help you, empower you.
Correct.
To improve your credit.
But you have to want to be empowered, because we can't help people who don't want to help themselves.
That's a given. You're right. But we'll put it out there, but we're no judging. Like we cast our seeds, cast our net, and whoever's ready can jump in, right?
Exactly.
So we're going to talk more about government loan programs, for sure. But I want to talk about if someone is ready to get into a home, how do they pick a real estate agent?
That's a good question. So when you are looking to pick a real estate agent, I always tell them to, one, make sure that the communication skills or the communication way that you like to communicate is ideal for you. So if and I always say personality too, because you're gonna work with this person anywhere from like 30 to 5 years. Look at me. I mean, so you want to make sure the personality's there and they're actually advocating for you and want to see your best interests. You too want to make sure that they have, expertise, like they know what a seller's market is, a buyer's market is. And the last one I always tell people is if they're full-time, because I know you wouldn't want a part-time attorney, and I'm not saying real estate agents are attorneys, but like I'm helping you make one of the biggest financial decisions of your life. So I would hope you would want someone who is full-time and is staying, updated on all the things when it comes to real estate, and local knowledge too, because real estate is very volatile and it changes very hyper local where you are. So
I'll tell you, when I bought my loft downtown, right, I was working for USAA, and we had a referral system. So I went through the referral system, got connected with a real estate agent. And you're right about making sure it's a good fit, because I met with her a few times. I told her what I was looking for. I was able to qualify for a much larger home than what I wanted to purchase because I wanted to go beneath my means
Good
and
job.
not put myself in a situation where I got to keep my job to make my mortgage payment, right?
Yes.
So,
House poor.
but what was interesting that she obviously was one of the top selling producers, and she wasn't listening to me. She kept showing me homes that were much higher than what I wanted to purchase, and so we weren't really filling each other. And then all of a sudden, I got a call from someone else, and I was like,
She was like, okay, I'm getting rid of you.
I said,
She fired
did she
you.
just break up with me?
And it does feel like a relationship.
It was. I was like, oh, you just beat me to the punch. It's like,
I always tell people it's like it's a loyalty agreement when you sign on to work with me.
exactly. So she said, no, no, no. She was just very busy. Okay.
You're like, definitely clean it up for her.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So the person I worked with though, she went above and beyond because I had a hectic schedule. So there's a lot that I needed done, and I'm a numbers guy. So she really went above and beyond. To your point, you got to find somebody who's willing to work with you personality-wise, that you trust, because you're going to be sharing some things with them. They're going to be helping you make one of the largest financial decisions.
Yeah.
So that you don't want to underestimate the relationship and finding someone that you work well with.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like it's key.
Yeah.
Because I've had some clients where I'm like, oh my gosh, refer me like 100 of you. And there's some clients like I'm like, oh, I would have referred them out because, you know, they might not have worked as great together.
And then the other thing I do is when people ask me for referrals, I always give them three people.
Me too.
And I say, hey, you know, they may
That's
work
with
well with
all
me, but
vendors.
yeah, definitely meet with all three, and then make a decision based on your gut and, you know, the competency and things like that.
Absolutely.
So, okay, meeting a financial advisor or meeting with a real estate agent. One of the things we talked about is the financial factors. We talked about credit score, down payment, also understanding debt to income ratio. Do you get into that with your clients?
A little bit. I try to stay in my lane. So with debt to income, that's really heavy into the lending part of it.
Okay.
And two, I know sometimes people don't want me to know all their financial decisions that they've made, especially if it's family.
Right.
So what I do is I say, I don't know what you have going on behind the scenes. You work with my lender, but they are going to see what your debt to income is. But you know, for FHA, it can't be over 45%, and then for conventional, it's usually 40. So, and VA is much better. So like you can have a lot of debt.
Do your clients have a financial advisor?
A lot of them don't.
So I'm an advocate of a financial advisor, and I help my clients make home purchase decisions from a debt income ratio, saving up cash reserves. And I think a real estate agent is needed, but a team is needed. Just like you have a finance person, a loan officer, a real estate agent, you need to have a financial advisor in the mix. So do you recommend that to clients when they're coming to you if they don't have one?
I have vendor lists that I will send them, but it's them that gets to pick what that is because
But is the financial advisor on that list?
yes.
Okay, got it.
I have to see. I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm thinking we're not getting much love.
I don't think so.
Maybe you can add the financial advisor on that list,
do you
right?
have 3 people that you can send me?
Most definitely, yeah.
Okay, yes.
I'll hook you up.
Hook me up. Because I have CPA, I have divorce attorneys, I have estate planners, I have, you know, lawn clear, like all the things, but I don't have.
Yeah, so I'm glad we're talking about
Me
this
too.
right now. Yeah. So
We're always learning.
show some love to some financial advisor.
Yeah.
Okay. And now understanding the market. So now you've got someone who trusts you, they got their finances in order. Now when they're going out with you, understanding the nuances of the market and helping them make their decision. Talk about that.
So when we're viewing properties, what I do is I try to teach them how to actually assess their investment because, you know, real estate is an investment. I mean, I know your first one it's more emotional than anything, but you know, you want to make sure that the roof is good, the foundation, is that what you're asking me? Like, what am I teaching them how to?
Yeah, take me through the process.
Okay, so taking you through the process, when we go to the first house, I like stand outside the house and I say, we will always want to look at the roof. We want to look at foundation. We want to look at plumbing once we go into the house, make sure there's no like noticeable leaks. We also want to look at electrical because electrical is one of those things that you don't want to, you know, move into the house and it's like, welcome home gift, do a whole new electrical system. That is a high dollar ticket item that no one wants to really get when they first move in. Right. And then we look at HVAC because you want it to cool and you want it to heat. And so those are the top 5 things that we really pay attention to. Everything else is like cosmetics. Those are things that you have to add your own spice to. But these 5 things are going to be the things that can take you under, like $10,000 to replace an AC. A roof, I mean, I can't even tell you how much roofs cost now because, yeah. So those are the things that I help them assess when we go look at the house. But also, I always say, you'll know when you find it, because when we walk into the house, I can usually tell, because they're like, oh, I just feel like this feels like home. And I know that sounds like kind of dramatic, but that's like the fun part about it.
Well, for some people, right?
For some people. For me, I'm like,
right. You're enjoying that. And maybe one of
You're like, what's the number?
Maybe one of the couples, all right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. Before we even get to that, but there's a whole process of how do you help them decide the home that they want and what they can afford? Like, that whole conversation has to happen before you actually walk into a home.
Absolutely.
So how do you guide them through that?
So we do I do if you could wave a magic wand type of thing. And I say, okay, you have 5 needs, 5 wants. And we go through all the 5 of each. Then I say, okay, let's take the wants and put them over here. These are your 5 needs. Okay, out of these 5 needs, if you can only get 3, what are the 3? And these are the 3 that we look for. When we walk into a house, if it has these 3 homes, would you be willing to make an offer on that property? And so that's kind of how we can narrow down. The more clear they are on what they want, the easier it is for me to help identify it once we get there, or even before we get there.
Okay, so that's going to help you identify all of the features, because I say a lot of times there's no perfect house.
No.
Right? You got the bedrooms are going to be perfect, but the bathroom is not cool. Correct. Or the living room is right on point, but something like, it's like a person, right? We're not perfect people.
Exactly. I said it earlier, 80% of the home, you can put the extra 20% in it. Yeah.
So, but even before that, how do you get them to understand if this is what they want and all their needs, but they go out there and it's more than what they may even qualify to get it, but when you look at their finances, they should probably not get what they qualify for, because it's going to be a tough financial experience afterwards. Do you get into that aspect of how much of a home do they even want to
I do. So
purchase?
After they tell me the needs, they say the ideal budget of what they want to, spend. I will pull out my computer and I'll go through a market view. A market view is just showing you an area that is going to be the median price of where you're saying you want to be. And then I'm also showing them the stats around it. How much inventory is in these areas? Is this an area that you would desire? And then I kind of help people, I kind of bring people in, because a lot of people would say, I want to live in Frisco. I love Frisco. But the median price out there is $700,000.
Yeah.
Are you at $700,000?
But then do you break it down to say, okay, based on the median price of the house that they're looking at, the down payment, this is what their monthly mortgage payment is going to be.
So
does that fit inside their budget?
So the lender will do that, and I'll reiterate it with them.
Okay.
Yeah, so I really let the lender talk a lot about money. They'll tell me how much they want to pay monthly, because I tell people, if you're not paying cash, you're buying the actual monthly payment, not the actual amount of the house. So those are ways that we kind of maneuver.
So this whole process of
I'm hoping am I answering your questions though?
Yeah, you are.
Okay,
I'm making
sure
you get to, right? So your needs and your wants, searching for a home, you go through that whole process, and then actually you find a home that you want, then you've got to give, the offer. How do you help them identify what to offer? Do they just offer what the listing price is? Do they go a little bit below, above? How do you negotiate that part?
So I have a sheet before too. So in the consultation that we do, I show them what typical buyers pay, what they pay for, what sellers pay for, and then I also show them what people pay for in different markets too. So if it's a buyer's market, we have way more negotiating space. But if it's a seller's market, now we have to make sure, if you love this house, we might need to go a little higher, or we might need to really tighten up terms. So I walk them through the actual money parts of the whole contract, so they're fully aware of what they're walking into.
So what makes a buyer's market? What makes a seller's market? Explain that.
So a seller's market is inventory based. So if you're anywhere from 3 months of inventory and less, that is a seller's market. So anything that's over 3 months to about 6 months, that is a balanced market. And then anything that's 6 months and above is a buyer's market. So seller's market means that there's not that much inventory, there's only a couple houses, but there's a surplus of buyers. So the sellers have the upper hand. And the balanced market is like, it could be either or. And then in the buyer's market, did I say that right? Yeah. Yeah. And in the buyer's market, now there's so many houses, but there's few actual buyers. So that is the difference between each market. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and so when you look at a seller's market, prices are usually higher.
Correct.
Because of supply and demand.
Well,
right?
it can be.
And then also you have.
It can be at market price,
like
but
homes go fast.
They go fast, but then they can overbid. So in a seller's market, you're gonna have lots of bidding wars.
Exactly. So and usually the bids are going higher, like no, not lower.
Absolutely, they're going way higher than they are.
In the buyer's market, then it's like, okay, it's the opposite way around.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's all relative, right?
Yeah, to a certain extent.
So we talked about the challenges of this market, the pros and cons of buying versus renting, and being ready for it mentally, being ready financially for it, how to overcome those challenges. A little bit about the home buying process, but is there anything about the home buying process that we really didn't address that you think is important for people to know?
Yes, so new construction is huge. I know a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to go and buy a pre-owned home. I want something new.
Yeah.
I always tell people you still want someone to advocate for you even when you go buy new construction, because a lot of people will try to go buy a home for a new home
directly from the
builder,
right.
for the builder rep. And I always tell people the builder's rep work for the builders.
Right.
So if anything ever went sideways, they are not advocating for you. They are advocating for the builder. So you need to have a realtor even when it comes to new construction, because there's been so many times where I've done a consultation, someone went out and they decided to buy on their own. They got a really bad deal, and then they wanted me to come in and fix it.
Yeah.
And
don't you hate it when people make decisions and then they call you after the fact?
Exactly.
Like, why am I here? It's to help you.
It's like I was there in the beginning and you thought you had it. So I would really advise people, if you want new construction, still use a realtor. And if you're not going to use a realtor, just use someone who actually has bought multiple homes for new construction, because they're not there to advocate for you. Even though it seems like they're there to give you a deal, but are they? Is it an actual deal? You wouldn't know because you're not in the market like we are. What is another thing I would say for, I don't know, I feel like that new construction, because we didn't really touch on that. Oh, I would say this to you. For my first time home buyers, it's okay to put a little elbow grease into your house.
Fixer up.
A fixer-upper, because I think that you might get a little bit more bang for your buck if you buy something that needs a little love, a little TLC, versus something that's already updated. So don't be nervous, but also be realistic with the updates too. And I usually will walk people through of like, this is how much it typically costs. And if you want to go this route, just make sure you have that amount saved. So.
Well, soon after this program, I'm going to put underneath the video your contact information, and also some more information about down payment assistance or tax credits, national as well as local programs and assistance. So look for that afterwards. But right now, if someone wants to get in touch with you, how do they get in touch with you?
So you can find me on every social media platform, or
every social media platform?
LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Wow. I'm really on it all. I mean, I'm on.
Like, look, if they can't find you, they're not looking for you.
They're not looking for me, or just Google. Google will do. My number is 469-826-7732. You can always just text me, and then you'll have all my information down below. So yeah. Okay. I mean, I'm pretty easy to get a hold of,
So I think we covered everything.
I hope so.
Well, hey, they can always come to the program this Saturday.
Please do.
Right? And here's the thing: on the third Saturday of every month, we're always doing a program somewhere in Dallas. And if you're not in Dallas, you can see us live on Facebook or YouTube. And if you can't make it, then it's going to be out there forever anyway.
Yes.
So you always come back to it. And if you are there, you should be sharing it anyway. So definitely you better get more, Keyra.
Yes.
Also, I want to thank you for investing your time in watching the Empower series, also in sharing this. Whatever you do not keep us a secret. Join us. You can engage in our social media. We're not on every social media platform.
Not yet.
But we are on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, or now X, right? Instagram, as well as YouTube, which is what you're on now. So
you're on most of them. You're just not on TikTok. That's it.
Yeah. I'm not sure about TikTok yet.
Not yet. I'm telling you, It's a market.
You know, there's a capacity issue too, right?
Yes.
So in
get
any
that.
event, we might be on TikTok because they've been telling me to get on TikTok anyway.
I've closed a deal from every single platform, and
But
I'm
I've seen
telling
your content. You do a lot of content. You're good.
yes, you have to put yourself out there. It's just like this.
Yeah.
You can chop it up. Everything we just talked about, you have like 50 pieces of content. Everything is content.
Well, you're some great content.
I love it.
So again, I want to thank you for joining us today. Don't keep us a secret. Take this tidbit of information and put it into action, because knowledge is useless if you're not acting on it. You know, what helps dreams come true is putting things into action. So ideas in action is our other motto. Until we meet again, be empowered and inspired to thrive. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you again
Absolutely.
for being such a jewel
Well, thank you for having me. Yeah.
and an oasis of knowledge and resources.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, until we meet again, see you guys.